report. So, as you guys know, we've had a lot of water. We finally had some sunshine today, which was really nice. It was almost warm. We're going to have some 60-degree weather this week, and we've got a lot of water. So, over at Whiskeytown, the water's high enough where the public pier over at Whiskey Creek has about a foot of water on it, which is pretty cool. With all the rising water, rivers, lakes, everywhere is going to be dark right now. So the water quality, depending on where you are, seems to be averaging about a foot maybe to maybe 4 or 5 foot, just depending on how the wind's blowing, where the water's coming in. It really depends on the lake and how much water and where the water's filtering into the lake. With that being said, with darker water, that's going to dictate a lot of your colors. But the nice thing is, it's going to give you the advantage to fool the fish. When the water's very, very clear and cold, they're very wary and they don't want to chase that much just because they can see so well. You really don't know, or unless you're doing something very small or realistic, generally it's hard to get them to bite. With the color in the water, vibration is going to play a big part in how they're going to feed, and the color. If you've got a foot of visibility, even some of these bright baits like the bright oranges and chartreuses, you put them a foot in the water, you can't see it. So you've got to get them right in the face with the vibration. They're going to feel it coming, and when you bump a log or a piece of cover, they're going to snap and hit it. So the log or piece of cover, that's going to be a big deal too. With the water rising, you're going to have more debris in the water as far as logs and bushes and rocks and all this stuff that's actually really nice because it's clean. There's not algae growing on it. There's not a lot of slime to get caught on your lures. You got definitely a lot to get your lures caught in, but you're not going to have to clean it off every single cast, which is really cool. But with that water being high, these fish want to back up against something, whether that be a bush or a log or hard rock bottoms or bluffs. They're going to want to push into that just because in the dark water, they can't see. They're not going to be swimming in open water. Your fish are going to be really, really tight to cover. So there's a handful of baits that I've got picked out right here to show you to get those fish to bite. And again, it's going to depend where you are and what your water quality is looking like. But this weekend, I personally went out to Whiskeytown, and I only got a handful of hours out there, but it was nice. The water's in the bushes. All of the trees are in the water. The water, like I said, it's got, in some places, a foot visibility to maybe 4 or 5 out there. With that being said, they're up. Some of them are up on the bank, but they're all on cover. So what used to be dry land is now some places 14, 15 foot of water, and those sticks and stuff that you saw there, they're still there. They're just down on the bottom. So having a bait that can get down there and bump them against that hard cover that those fish are on is a great way to get bit. Those fish, I wouldn't be fishing in deep water right now, 40, 50, 60 feet. They're all moving up as these lake levels have come up, and they will adjust, but for right now, they're moving up. What I was catching them on was spinner baits. What I started out with, just so I can cover water quickly, and I knew was going to stand out, is this spinnerbait right here. And this one, unfortunately, I don't have in the shop right now. We do have some other spinnerbaits, but that guy right there is a Booyah covert spinnerbait. And the reason that I started throwing this, besides that chartreuse color and the gold blades, which is another really good dirty water color, is it's a 3/4 ounce. So I didn't know how deep I was going to be fishing. I can fish this in a couple feet of water, keeping my rod tip high, or if I'm really slow rolling it, I can get it down to probably around 15 feet, but it's a 3/4 ounce head. So this is a very heavy swim bait. The blades are pretty large and put out a lot of vibration, and I'm throwing it on a really heavy line, but the idea is I can throw this right up against the bank and start fishing it out, or I can cast out quite a bit off the bank, let it hit the bottom, and start slow rolling it. When I would bump a piece of cover, I'd give it a little rod tip shake or a pop just to make it look escape, and generally that's where you're going to get bit. But the nice thing about these is they're very weedless. This whole thing acts like a weed guard, and I'm not saying you can't get it stuck, because I definitely did, but when you throw it in that cover, it comes through very well. You'll feel it tighten up as your line's going over that piece of cover, and then as you get to it and you feel it bump, give it a handle turn, give it a little lift, give it a little wiggle. It usually will come out. Again, not 100% of the time. The shallower you throw this 3/4 ounce bait, the more likely you are to get it stuck. One of the things I want to talk about too is the trailer. So this trailer, as you can see, is very, very skinny. So that bait right there is a high-tech Easy Shiner. And the reason I went with something like that instead of something like this is that this is a bulkier profile. That bait is going to catch more water and have it rise in the water column, and I wanted to be able to fish this deeper. Same thing when I changed later in the day. When I started throwing this, it was because the water was very dirty where I was, and I switched over to this guy right here. So this is a red and black spinnerbait, but I only had it in a 1/2 ounce. So again, to keep that down a little bit more, I didn't want to have a trailer that had a lot of bulk to it or a lot of wiggle. So I went, some of you think I'm crazy, but I went with a 4-inch Senko on the back of this because it's still a crawdad color. It's in a green pumpkin red flake. And if you've ever swam in Whiskey Town or flipped over the rocks or anything like that, something that a lot of people don't know is that the crawdads over there, they're red and black. And there are brown ones too, but there is a lot of red and black crawdads. So with that tinge in the water, this is what I was using on the cleaner side when I had that 4 or 5 foot. There's still a stain, but that looks really natural. And I caught fish in this in 4 feet of water, threw it up in a tree, was fishing it through the branches, and as I pulled it out of the branches, got absolutely hammered, and then he took off into deep water. It was great. It was exactly how you want to fish these things. It's a fun bite, and I can't wait. As it warms up, we're just going to be getting more and more of that. Because I'm throwing this stuff in heavy cover, I am using a heavy line. I'm using 17-pound Maxima Ultra Green, and I really like that because it's heavy. It's a monofilament. This is also the rod that I throw my top waters on with treble hooks, and the monofilament will give you a little bit of give, as will the rod. And I think it's stronger than fluorocarbon in the sense where if you rough this up on a rock, it is not going to break right away, where fluorocarbon is a little bit more brittle. So if you have something that has rubbed a rock or a tree and you get some abrasion on it, the next hook set, it could be popping. So a lot of people have gone away from mono. I really like it. You know, it's got its place in your fishing arsenal. With that being said, you want to have a little bit, I like a little softer rod personally. I would throw it on a medium heavy fast or a medium heavy moderate fast. Just something that has a little bit of bend in it so that it really helps you to not get snagged. As you get into those logs and stuff, that rod will load up just a bit and help pull your baits over without it getting jammed in to whatever you're fishing. If you did need to fish shallower, if you found that the fish were shallower, this again is a great choice. Also, a Rage Craw is a great choice for a crawdad style trailer, especially throwing something red and black. And I didn't throw it, but these are also things that I have in my arsenal, and I definitely think you should look into. In that 1 foot of water, that is a bright red-orange crawdad spinnerbait. So this is something that we threw in the Delta a lot. It's got a thick wire. The fish don't care. They can only see a foot. They're not seeing your wire. They're going to see that orange bait, and they're used to that red representing crawdads. So what they can make out of this, they will eat it. It's a bit bright. It's a bit obnoxious. Again, it has its place in the dirty water conditions that we have right now. As things clear out, I'll probably stop throwing that and go to something a little bit more natural where that darker, lighter, I don't know what I would call that, but a more realistic red and black, and then bluegill colors like that. It's trying to adjust. There we go. Again, with the big gold blades. Something from a 1/2 ounce to a 3/4, just depending on where the fish are. Because you could find them shallow and deep right now, and again, colors that you want are things that will be visible in the darker water, something like reds and oranges. Do that again. There we go. So crawdad colors, reds and oranges. And then I've also got chartreuse blackbacks, good sticky hooks. So that's just a KVD square bill. The other one's a bomber. And you can see by the bill size, they are going to go different depths. I would say anything from 2 feet right now to 15 feet is what you want to target. But just look at the water quality. If you have 3 feet or more, a little bit more natural, but still standing out. If you have less than that, obnoxious and bright, make sure they can find it because they're going to be shallow. If they can't see but a foot, they're going to be backed up against the wall, against the cover, against the wood, whatever it is, and they need to have that vibration and something that bright to actually key in on. Another good bait, one of the ones we got here, the Frit side, that's an awesome lure in that candy apple craw. It gets down 5 to 7 feet depending on your line, but that's going to be another one that's really good this time of year. I talked to a couple guys at the ramp who did catch them on a crankbait. I tried throwing it again, throwing that obnoxious orange reds. Sorry, I keep trying to get these things zoomed in. I was throwing that on our Falcon lowrider rod. It's a moderate fast flex, so you're not going to tear out the treble hooks when you do hook into some of these nicer fish. And then I've also got it paired with a Revo SX, and this is a 6.8 or a 7.3 to 1 is about where you want. Either of those will work fine. 12-pound test. But again, it's more the rod than anything else. You don't want a noodle, but you don't want something with too much backbone or you're going to be pulling hooks. The line is a lot lighter just because this thing is going to dig and float. So generally you're going to bounce, they're going to whack it, and then hopefully they don't dig you down into it. Um, but the colors still the same: chartreuses, something really, really bright, and reds. I did talk to one guy at the ramp who caught some fish on an S-waver. Again, I'm trying to get my face out of there so it zooms in. These are kind of opaque colors. A lot of people like bone, and there are some bright ones. This I still think is a bit more of a natural representation. So I would do something that's not quite outrageous. And I'm not saying it won't work, but if it was me, I'd throw that light trout, the bones, the bluegill color, something that, you know, stands out, but it's not going to be too obnoxious. And again, that would probably be on the clear side in that 4 to 5 foot visibility. If the water's slick calm, instead of throwing the spinnerbait, look into swim jigs. That's going to be the same idea. It's not going to have as much vibration, but if you put on a swim bait or a rage cross, something that has a lot of flap, you could throw that into any cover you want and it comes out. Throw it on heavy line, swim it through the trees. When you get whacked, hammer them and drag them out. It's a fun way to fish. I miss the Delta, and I am so excited that Whiskey Town is this full. We did drive by Lake Shasta as well down at Jones Valley. And now that the water's come up, there is quite a few, I don't even know what kind of grass it is, but there is some standing grass that's fairly thick that you could also bounce spinner baits and swim jigs and crankbaits through. And once that water temperature warms up a little bit, it's going to be absolutely killer. I'm very excited for this spring. Again, over at Whiskey Town, I did talk to guys, drop shotting, doing very well. So there's a couple rubble worm colors. Purple is a great way to go when you are fishing this darker water. And then the oxblood is just one of my favorites. It really depends on your water clarity again, but something a little slower. I try to get them to react, but if they don't react, then again, go back to the jig. They're very weedless. Go to a drop shot, throw it on a wide gap style hook or a some sort of weedless drop shot. It'll just save you a lot of headache. Um, yeah. And then I did also try the jerkbait, which it should work this time of year. I did not get any luck on it, but try your reaction baits. That's really what I'm getting at. Wherever you're fishing right now, the watercolor's dirty, the fish are going to be more shallow. Throw them, try it. It's a lot more fun than just sitting there and dragging, in my personal opinion. And then the other part of the report that I want to talk about is one of my good buddies from the Sacramento area. He's been fishing the American River. So the American River has been running at like 39,000 CFS, and then it dropped to 7,700. So the river's cleaning up a bit. It's still very dark water, but there are quite a few people catching steelhead. The rig right now is just a bobber rig, a slip float, or a fixed. It really depends where you're fishing, the depth that you're fishing. For that, we're using, again, big old bobber rod. This thing's 9.6. It's long, it's limber. You could really manage your line with that. And then some sort of bobber. This one is a fixed one, but you could do a slip bobber just as easy, especially if you're fishing a bunch of different depths. Generally 8-pound test, row beads, things like that. The 14 and 12 millimeter beads are what's getting it done down there. And just drifting it, you know, bobber goes down, set the hook. Fun fishing, also visual, kind of like topwater fishing. The access is hard right now, so the rangers keep closing and opening the different gates for the access because of, I'd assume it has something to do with the water, maybe the safety if trees have blown down, things like that, that they're cleaning it out. So get in where you can, but the river's still very muddy, but the break in the storm is going to allow the river to clear up. It's going to drop roughly to around 5,000 CFS, and the report is get out and go hammer 'em. The next 3 weeks are going to be, I quote, magical. So that is from Kyler. He's a fisherman down there, and I hope to get you guys hooked up with them. I believe he's guiding down there. So he's going to get a drift boat out next week. And, you know, above everything else, get out there, catch some fish. And actually, before I let you go, I wanted to let you guys know that we are starting our fishing meetups. We've got 8 of them scheduled from March to October, and I really hope to see you guys out there. This is for you guys that have had a lot of experience kayak fishing, excuse me, a lot of experience kayak fishing, and guys that are just getting into it. We want to get the whole range of people out there. It's hard, and I thought this was kind of crazy, but it was hard to find people to fish with up here. So if you don't have anybody to fish with, if you're a little intimidated getting out in the water by yourself, come meet up with us. We've got it all on our website, headwatersadventure.com. Check out the calendar. You look at them for every month from March to October, and hopefully we'll see you guys out there. We'll have some vendors doing some giveaway stuff, so we'll have some product out there as well. But it's really just come out, make a friend, learn something, have fun, catch some fish. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you guys out there. And besides that, stay fishing, my friends. We will see you soon. Till next time.